Hello everyone, welcome back to another So I've Been Reading. I am the Rat and this is the Rat's Nest. I'm joined today by Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, first time I've had a guest on So I've Been Reading. Today we're going to be talking about Dragon Ball Z. Ooh, I love Dragon Ball Z so much, don't you, Kyle?
It's a complicated relationship. So, do you mind if I preface my
course.
feelings on the overall series first before? Okay, so I grew up with Dragon Ball like most people did in life, or a lot of people who are like big anime fans. Dragon Ball was one of the gateways, and the easiest way to let fans down easy. I don't hate it. I don't hate the show. There was a period where I disliked it, but I've grown in appreciation for what it did. I don't think it is it's hard to say. I don't think it's objectively like the best thing ever, but I do respect it for being what I would call like the granddaddy of modern shonen, because a lot of it walked so other series could run, and there's a lot that I do like and appreciate from Dragon Ball. But equally, there's some of the writing and some of the stuff that happens in the plot that I am not a huge fan of.
Yeah, so this is my first time reading through Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
I have finished I'm reading Dragon Ball Z Super. So this is my first time through Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, as an anime fan, I know about Dragon Ball Z. I know certain things. I know Frieza exists. I know Boo exists.
But you have,
I know there's some funny man named Jiren in Super that does some things.
But you have no context for any of this.
Yeah, and Kyle and I have talked about some things. I can't really remember much. I have probably a baseline, if not maybe a tiny bit more, of Dragon Ball knowledge that a person just being casually exposed to it over the past however many years would have.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I have not been a huge shonen fan until recently, but I have been reading a lot more shonen this year, and so Dragon Ball was just like the capstone of it. I was like, I want to read through Dragon Ball. I think that I'm at the point in my manga and anime career. It's for lack of a better word, career.
Yeah,
where I can read this and enjoy it, because I'm going into it. I want to see funny Goku punch man real good, and so far I have not been disappointed by that metric.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I watched this. I'd have to say, whenever I was like 7 or 8 years old. I remember it vividly. Like, it aired on Nicktoons, and I watched it. And I loved it as a kid. It was just so much fun. I was one of those kids. Like, I love Dragon Ball. And then, so I've been able to sit with this for years. And as I've been learning more about creative writing and reading more shonen, I can better articulate my opinion on Dragon Ball that I've had over the years, rather than, big number stupid.
Yeah. And so I'm going to be looking at this kind of objectively. Saying what I like, saying what I don't like, saying what I think is good or not.
Because you don't have nostalgia. Because a lot of people, when they talk about Dragon Ball, it feels like they're very fueled by nostalgia. Like, I know some people that when you talk about Dragon Ball with them, they're like, "Oh, it's amazing, it's perfect." And it's like, well, can't we at least talk about it on a more like critical level? And it just seems like a lot of people don't like to.
Yeah, and I am as unbiased as I can be. But there's a bit of an aura around it, being like, I'm reading Dragon Ball Z right now, Yeah,
like you're reading the granddaddy.
But still, it's very unbiased. So prefacing before we get into it, I really enjoyed Saiyan Invasion. So whenever I refer to my favorite Dragon Ball arcs, I'm going to include original Dragon Ball in this, because I've read the original Dragon Ball and this is a direct sequel. Yeah. I enjoyed Saiyan Invasion more than any arc in Dragon Ball. I think it has the best fight so far. I think it is the best arc so far. I will say that Goku versus Piccolo at the end of the third Tenkaichi Budokai was more hype than Goku versus Vegeta. But knowing the weight of this fight, and knowing okay, this is Goku and Vegeta fighting during the Saiyan invasion, it does add a certain weight to this fight, or the main fight of this arc.
And the last thing that I want to add in, since I, part skipping ahead and stuff, that's a discussion for Dragon Ball 2. I grew up not knowing that Dragon Ball OG was a thing. So I want to throw that out there.
And like everyone else.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So whenever I'm talking about this, like I still haven't read any of it. I will soon. I'll be going back and reading it eventually. But as like my opinion is now, it's formed by this being the first arc I've known of Dragon Ball, and you can help me find like a middle ground. If I say something that sounds unfair, like, well, in the original series it did this. So.
Yeah, but yeah. So let's get right into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into it.
So I have my notes. Fair warning. So one last thing before we get in. It's been like 3 weeks since I read this, so I'm not going to remember very many details.
Oh, I can fill in the gaps.
Okay, it's been a second, but I got my notes here.
I've seen the show. I played the games. It's muscle memory.
So we start off, and we get to see Raditz crash land. I don't know he's Raditz. And he introduced us to us, maybe not formally, but the concept of power levels, where I think we see him going around and looking at people, and I'm just like, okay, so here we get into power levels, right? In terms of iconicness, you don't get much more of an iconic power scale as power levels, because power scale, power levels, like power scale might be that word might be influenced by the term power levels, and me, big power scaling guy, love me some power scaling. This is not the way to do it.
No,
I think
no, of course not.
It's iconic, and you know what? It's fun. It's fun to see Goku get real mad during a fight and see that number shoot up. It's really fun. But
if we're talking about in terms of a well-written power scale, and remember, like One Piece tried introducing this too in Eni's lobby, and they never brought it up. Thank God.
I will say so. Slight spoilers for One Piece.
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, no. What you call it is the kind of power scaling that I prefer and that I think is good is soft power scaling. So for example, with One Piece, you have the warlords and the emperors, and then you have the emperor commanders. It's a soft power scale. There's not like, oh, well, it's this number. It's like, okay, they're in Whole Cake Island, the land of an emperor, and here's Big Mom's, not second, but like third in command, and Luffy beats him. Luffy is becoming emperor tier at that point. And even it's the idea of what exactly is emperor tier. You don't know, but it's soft. So that's what makes the power scaling conversation more interesting, as opposed to, well, Gogeta has 3 septillion power, so Freezer is gonna die.
Yeah, I like it in shows, and so I basically break down shonen fights into 3 different categories: pure like physical strength, which is the way that Dragon Ball goes. Pure like ability and mind gaming, which I'd say under JoJo, and then like the middle ground of I'd say like One Piece is a good example, or I mean like Jujutsu Kaisen, Black Clover. Like there's a lot of them where it's objective strength mixed in with ability, which I find that to be a good middle ground, where fights are interesting because of the strengths and then the abilities that they have with them, so it's not completely obvious as to who's going to win. And the choreography the action sequences, they're really enjoyable to watch. I love hand-to-hand combat in a lot of stuff. And Dragon Ball, since we're talking about the negatives of power levels, let's bring in a positive here. I love the action sequences in Dragon Ball. They are even in the manga, like they're
it's a ton of fun.
Drawn. He knows Toriyama, like I think, from drawing it, like he knows what he's doing with a lot of his handling.
No, Dragon Ball is a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun reading it.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to say fun is like a backhanded like insult or whatever. Like he does it very well. So even though it's the objective power scaling, like Raditz is what's his power level?
Raditz is around 1200, I believe.
1200.
I didn't write his down, but it's about around 1200.
Yeah, and even then, an invasion arc, I think it still does a good job balancing that out, where it's not just pure objective numbers. We actually get to see more strategy and ability coming to mind, and the Raditz fight is a good example. So if you want to,
the power creep doesn't get bad until Vegeta. It gets bad at Vegeta.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So, going through, he meets Piccolo and dismisses him. He's like, "Oh, he's weak." So here, I knew Goku's name was Kakarot. So I put apparently Goku's name is Kakarot, and he's the prince. So that's something I was confused. Is Raditz referred to him as like the prince of their homeworld? The prince of the Saiyans. Yeah.
Can you share? Can you send the panel real quick, or like post it on screen or something?
Yeah, what you call it? We'll be back in a second.
Okay.
I'll find this.
So I also like this isn't a typical cough. I just have like a big tickle in my throat, so this is gonna be time to,
Yeah. Let
Yeah,
me
like,
find that because I was like I thought Vegeta was the prince.
No, I mean that Vegeta is the prince.
Yeah.
Just DM it to me on Discord. I am currently sitting waiting. I see the Heisenbone thing.
Okay, I might have misspoke.
What was it? Can you still send it?
Okay, yeah, no, that's my mistake. So so what it is? Well, I'll cut back in and we'll.
All right, just cut back in.
Yeah, I'll cut that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're back. I looked at it. So right. I misread it. It said, so I thought it said, "Have you lost your pride, the Prince of the Saiyan Warriors, Kakarot?" But it said, "Have you lost your pride, the pride of the Saiyan Warriors, Kakarot?" So that's my mistake. I saw the D and it was an N. I thought it was an N. And this was at like 2 a.m. probably that I think I was reading this.
It's okay, so, it's all right. He was blindfolded. His brother was reading it. It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it was like raining on like a Tuesday. You know, it's not on my fault.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah,
see, it's been a 5-year time skip since Dragon Ball. We get to see all the old cast meet up: Goku, Bulma, Roshi, and Krillin. Goku has Gohan. And obviously, I know Gohan. He's 4 right now. I think Gohan is 23 at this point. Don't quote me. I think he is 23.
Goku?
Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. Okay, so it's hard to say. I think Goku in Super is in like his 60s or something.
Yeah, I think. Well, there's a lot of time. Whatever. I don't know.
Here, while you're explaining, I'll look up Goku's age from this arc.
Yeah, just gonna go through the Raditz stuff. Raditz shows up, maybe kills Krillin. He threatens everyone. We get to learn that Goku is not human. He's an alien. He's a Saiyan, and that Raditz is his brother.
Also, Goku's 24. He's
at
24.
that point, okay, so I was a year off. Base. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, 24.
We get to learn that Saiyans kill inhabitants of world and sell them to species looking to relocate. It's somewhat spoilers for Invincible, season 1, I suppose. It's kind of similar to Viltrumites a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a similar idea. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it was inspired by it.
I mean, the difference is,
like, if Invincible was inspired by Dragon Ball, obviously not the other way. I didn't think I was like need to clarify, but like I wanted to clarify.
We're about to have a situation like where someone said that Metal Gear was inspired by Nier Automata, even though it came first.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is similar to Viltrumites, but in the Viltrumites case, they go around, they just conquer planets for the sake of like expansion of territory. But for the Saiyans, it's like they go around and they do it for monetary gain.
Yeah. So, like I said, like we said at the beginning, I'm not going to look too much into the power scaling of this world. It is a bit odd that someone as weak as Raditz, in the grand scheme of things, would be able to do that. And even Nappa being pretty weak. And Vegeta being the only one that's kind of been a threat so far, really.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, especially since Vegeta and Nappa can make the little things that killed Yamcha that are more powerful than Raditz.
You're gonna have to learn the hard way, Brandon. If you're gonna try to enjoy Dragon Ball, don't think too much about the power scaling.
Yeah, I'm trying not to, but it does come to mind.
Brandon, it will get worse.
I fully expect it.
I'm going to tell you this. It has a couple moments in Namek where things pick up, but then Anyway, we'll
go a little cuckoo crazy. But yeah, we get to see Goku lost his memory. So the funny little monkey man was originally a murderer, I suppose. We get to see Tails unlock the true powers of Saiyans.
It explains the tail.
Yeah, I was gonna say they turn into the monkey man.
Mighty Osaru's.
And it's like a big, strong, and whenever they're like smart enough, they can control it. They can control the power. Obviously, Goku.
Because in Goku's case,
and Gohan wasn't able to at the end.
From what I remember in the original Dragon Ball, Goku goes, 8 mode during a full moon, and Roshi has to blow up the moon to stop him.
Yeah. And they cut off. Goku gets his tail cut off twice. The third time by Takami for good. But yeah, so there we go. We get to see yada yada yada. Raditz is threatening them. I think he beats up Goku, and then he takes Gohan with him. He's gonna be like, well, if you won't come with us to help us kill these people, we'll take your son, Gohan, and we'll.
Oh no, okay. So what he does is, I remember Raditz shows up and he's threatening Goku to join him. And goes, all right, look, you better have 100 dead people brought to me within like a 24-hour span, and if you don't do that, like, I'm gonna kill your kid. I think that's what he says.
I don't know if he said he's gonna kill you. I think he's like, I'm gonna take your kid and train him or something.
Yeah, like shit gets bad if he doesn't kill 100 people.
Raditz is quite evil, you could say.
Yeah, obviously. Well, not obviously, but after that, Piccolo shows up, and they decide, like, since at this point, Piccolo and Goku are like they're still like enemies, but Piccolo even says, like, all right, for survival's sake, we need to like work together and go beat this guy.
They're not besties yet.
No.
We get to see. We also learn there's only 4 Saiyans left. Which is Goku, Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz. Their Saiyan homeworld is called Vegeta, and it blew up. And that's Vegeta the planet, not Vegeta the man. You know me, big men guy. It's so true. So yeah, Piccolo and Goku team up to gather the Dragon Balls and defeat Raditz. Where they were going around trying to. I don't know. I wrote that down. I can't remember the details around it because I know it was like Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz, and then Gohan was there. Like I don't remember how the Dragon Balls were exactly involved in that.
I don't. Hold on one moment.
Or no, they needed the Dragon Balls, and then there was one left on Gohan's hat. But then, like, I think before they can make a wish or something, what you call it? I think before they could make a wish, it was no, because Piccolo doesn't die here; he dies later. I don't know. I can't remember how the Dragon Balls were involved in this. So they wanted to gather the Dragon Balls that involved Gohan's, the one that was on Gohan. Yeah, and then they finally got them, and they were going to use it to resurrect Goku. And then because Goku died fighting Raditz at the end. Yada yada Raditz fight. And they were going to use it to resurrect him, but then he didn't want to be resurrected because he wanted to try Kaioken and train for it.
What did they do with the wings instead? I thought they did something, and then they'd gather them back in a year when needed.
I can't remember. They did. Nah, they wished something. I can't remember.
Either way, let's talk about the Raditz fight because I really do enjoy the Raditz fight because, believe it or not, I might have mentioned this before. One of my favorite things in anime is the 2v1s. I love it. It doesn't have to be like rivals. I love it when two characters have to work together in order to overcome one foe. It's a very simple concept, but I enjoy it a lot because it's just so much fun watching like the coordination. And this fight is no different, where we see Goku and Piccolo fight. They have to exploit Raditz's like tail weakness, because as we learn, if you grab a Saiyan by its tail, like you can stun them.
It doesn't make much sense why Raditz like hadn't trained that out, since even Goku did that.
He's
in 3
like
years just by himself.
And he's one of the few remaining Saiyans and doesn't even seem to remember that like that's his big weakness. Even though Nappa don't think about it. Don't think about it.
We get to see Gohan has a power level of 710. Goku is 416 and Piccolo is 408. I would say, obviously we've talked about power levels. I don't like how the original Dragon Ball only led to 416 and then Goku like multiplies that by like 10 billion by the end of this arc. I don't like that, because Goku and Piccolo were very strong at the end of Dragon Ball.
What did you say Goku started out in this one was?
Goku started out at 416 without the weights. Culmination of even 5 years after the original Dragon Ball.
So hold on. So Goku, we'll touch on it, but it was 8,000. He uses Kaioken times 5, that's 40,000. What's his number?
416.
That is 96.15 times stronger.
Yeah. It just...
So, yeah. Multiplies his number by the end of the arc, like assuming Kaioken times 5, like if we're going off of the actual logistics of numbers, 96 times stronger.
Yeah.
In the span of a year, even though Goku's been a martial artist.
Not so much like how even like just how fast he gets strong. It's like I don't like that that's all the original Dragon Ball led up to. It's like bruh, So we do get to see, I will say, we do get to see their power levels go up with their attacks. We get to see that Kamehameha is roughly 1,000, while Piccolo's new attack is roughly 1,400. And I'm pretty sure that Raditz is like, that's stronger than me, and I think Raditz is around 1,200.
Yeah.
We get to see Goku grabs Raditz by his tail, but lets him go. I can't, because he was like, you don't want to kill your brother, do you?
Okay, hold on. This is one thing we have to touch on. Oh my god. Okay. Goku is an idiot. Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
One thing I dislike, and don't you worry, this keeps on coming back, is whenever Goku fights someone, and like as Goku does, sometimes, a lot of times, Goku will give them a chance to, like, all right, if I let you go, you promise you'll be good, and like, oh yeah, totally, I'll do that. And then they don't do that, and then it's like, oh no, you have to go back to fighting him now. Like, it feels pointless. And again, I don't know much of Goku's character from the original Dragon Ball. I don't know the original Dragon Ball, but I just think it's very silly that it's something that he keeps on doing over and over and over and over again.
I mean, it makes sense because he spared Piccolo at the end of the original Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I guess what I'm explaining now isn't so bad here, but we'll touch on it in later points.
It's not out of character, but it's not great writing.
It's not. That's the best way to put it. And okay, at the very least, in this situation, it is his brother. But can we also talk about the fact that Goku's brother is sort of a wasted concept?
It really is. And I mean, I know we see his dad later on, and I hope his dad isn't wasted. But it's just like I always love it whenever they bring in protagonists family members, but not not a main character who has a little sister who wants to have sex with him,
No,
in a cool way, like Raditz. Well, in a potentially cool way, like Raditz.
Yeah, because in Raditz's case, it should have been a Saiyan, and maybe instead of it being just Nappa and Vegeta, it should have been Nappa, Vegeta, Raditz, and then have another Saiyan show up in the first place, being like, I'm looking for Kakarot, or I'm looking for Raditz's brother Kakarot, or just something to let Raditz have more relevance, because if you take away the fact that Raditz is Goku's brother, it doesn't necessarily change much of the writing of this arc, and it feels like something like a family member should change that.
We get to see Gohan breaks out, helps Goku and Piccolo, and it's like, Gohan's really strong. Specifically, Gohan is apparently really strong. Can't wait to see how he develops. That is a talk for another episode. We'll not get into Gohan this episode.
Yeah, every other thing we're gonna say is we'll touch on it in a later episode.
Yeah, Goku holds Raditz to die with him. Vegeta and Nappa are headed to Earth. So Goku does okay, I'm gonna kill.
Well, hold on. To explain that, Raditz had his comms on, and during them talking about all the Dragon Balls, Vegeta and Nappa were able to overhear it, and they're like, "Oh shit!"
They're like, "Sweet, that sounds pretty poggers."
Free wishes, that's pretty gas. And then they start heading to Earth, and it's gonna take them a year, based on their little transport devices. So that gives Goku, in the other world, he runs Snake Way and he trains with King Kai. That gives him a year. That gives Piccolo and Gohan a year. That gives the other Z fighters that Brandon knows better than I do.
Yeah.
At least he knows about the characters in the original Dragon Ball. That gives them all 1 year to prep the incoming Saiyan threat. So
I will say it'd be very weird to start off this series and not know characters like Tien or Chaozu or Yajirobe. Dude, and even Yamcha would be so weird, because it's here's this dude that's like he has like scars and everything, and he's dressed kind of the same as Goku, and he kind of reminds you. And then he just dies to the little whatever the dudes.
As a kid, I was so sad. I was like, no, that guy.
Not Yamcha, dude, not Yamcha.
But,
anyone but Yamcha.
So all right. Let's talk about a couple things during the prep. All right.
Yeah.
King Kai. What do you think?
I think he's a cool little dude. I think Kaioken is cool. I mean, I had heard Kaioken before, so it's cool to be like, oh, I know what Kaioken now is. I think the little monkey guy is cool.
Bubbles.
I think, yeah, and I think again with the little snake thing that's like however billions of miles long. The scaling is a bit off, but I'm trying not to let it hamper my enjoyment. It's fun seeing Goku train.
In some of the filler, Goku actually goes to hell.
Actually?
Yeah. The Dragon Ball filler gets wild. Did you know that there was an episode where Goku and Piccolo try to get their driver's license.
Oh, dude, you have to figure out what episode that is and let me watch it. I really want to watch that.
So, like, at this point, this isn't anything that Brandon's seen. There's some filler during this. Like, Goku on Snake Way meets up with the Snake Lady who tries to eat people who run Snake Way. Goku trips and falls off, and he goes to hell for, like, an episode. And he meets Gauze and Mez, I think, and he eats a forbidden fruit from a tree or something.
Of course, Goku represents the fall of humanity into sin. Why didn't I realize that?
No cap. Talk about that later.
Oh my gosh.
But that's some of the filler. And in one of the video games, you actually come across Raditz during this point, because like Raditz dies and he's in hell, and you encounter him. Sorry, this is all like a tangent.
Yeah, we're getting off track. So the training. I mean, what really happens? Goku gets he gets to like Kaioken. He gets Kaioken. You get to see that.
There's something important that we also need to talk about.